General Flynn is a wonderful man. I think he's been treated very, very unfairly by the media. I feel badly for General Flynn. He's lost his house. He's lost his life. And some people say he lied, and some people say he didn't lie. I mean, really, it turned out maybe he didn't lie. Well, I feel badly for General Flynn. I feel very badly. He's led a very strong life, and I feel very badly, John. I will say this. Hillary Clinton lied many times to the FBI. Nothing happened to her. Flynn lied, and they destroyed his life.
Tonight, we learn more about the extent to which Michael Flynn has been cooperating with Team Mueller. We now know, as we were saying in the first segment, he has participated in 19 interviews with the special counsel and DOJ. He has been assisting in several ongoing investigations. And we know he has done enough for the feds to recommend leniency in sentencing, perhaps no jail time at all. Much of exactly what that entails, however, remains a mystery. Here to talk about it with us tonight, two of our returning favorites, Phil Rucker, Pulitzer Prize-winning White House bureau chief for The Washington Post, and Robert Costa, national political reporter, also with The Washington Post, also moderator of Washington Week on PBS. Mr. Costa, the Flynn you came to know, barnstorming around the country, covering the early days of the campaign. When Rudy Giuliani says this tonight isn't a very big deal after all, should we assume the opposite?
I was just thinking back to when Phil and I were at the Republican National Convention trailing General Flynn around. He was part of that Trump inner circle. We were looking for quotes from him. He was someone who was close to the candidate. He was even considered a vice presidential candidate by Mr. Trump at the time in the summer of 2016. He was a confidant when a lot of people in the military and political establishment wouldn't give then candidate Trump the time of day. He was there at Trump Tower briefing the candidate, helping him feel like he was familiar with foreign affairs and military policy. This is a significant blow to see this kind of cooperation detailed out for a White House that's under siege. You see a pattern building from Robert Mueller. All of these different instances, whether it's Michael Cohen, Kislyak, and Flynn, Paul Manafort, all these different instances. We don't know the intent yet, whether it was a criminal conspiracy, but we know there's a pattern of behavior here that could raise questions.
And again, Phil, it is hard to know what's behind the black lines, but part of what we are allowed to read tonight, Mueller's team seems to be saying, because he was a big fish and because he came over to Team USA early, that he might have inspired others to cooperate.
Yeah, that seems to be the signal. And they're also signaling that Flynn was not only a campaign confidant of the president's and a national security advisor in the White House, but was intimately involved in that transition period, those 2 months between the election in November of 2016 and when President Trump took office, making choices about who would be filling key jobs inside the administration, making choices about which foreign leaders President Trump would speak to and about what topics and so forth. There's a lot of information there. 19 different sessions with the special counsel team. That is a lot. That's not 5 meetings. That's not 6 or 7. That's 19. And I think if you're President Trump at this hour, you're a little bit concerned and wondering what exactly Flynn was talking about.
And Robert, if this were an episode of Sesame Street, it would also be brought to you by the number 18. That's the number of days since between Sally Yates' warning, you got to get this guy out of your midst, and Flynn's actual departure from the White House. For all of you writing books about this period, what an 18-day period that will go down as, because Yates sitting over at her office at Justice wondering what damage is being done.
Phil was so right to point out the transition, because it's not just those 18 days, it's that transition period that leads into the first month of the administration. Remember, they kicked out Governor Christie's playbook.
Christie was there until he wasn't.
Transition, and then Steve Bannon takes over. Vice President Pence takes a role of sorts in the transition. And there are all these different power centers within Trump Tower, different people coming up for meetings. Flynn on his own, really as an island, working with President-elect Trump. And that's where the problem started. That's where a lot of the chaos started in 2017. It started in the winter of 2016 because there was no one really in charge. And someone like Flynn, based on our reporting, he was freelancing.
Let me take you back, Phil, to a simpler time. Yesterday, the lead story was, is the president engaging in obstruction or witness tampering in real time?
Or both.
In plain sight, or both. So that is part of the expanse of his head as he walks into that cathedral tomorrow, one of 5 U.S. presidents, with all of this going on subterranean. What do you think we'll see and experience?
You know, it's a good question. I'm not sure what we'll see, but I've been so struck the last few days how remarkably well behaved President Trump has been. I was with him covering the trip in Argentina over the weekend, and we're used to these summits where he has an explosion, or there's a feud with another leader, or he gets on the plane to fly home and starts tweet attacking the Prime Minister of Canada, as he did the last time those leaders got together for a global summit. And he didn't do any of that. He was pretty restrained, and he continues to be restrained in these couple of days while the country is mourning the loss of George H.W. Bush and thinking about the differences between the 41st president and the 45th president. That has to be getting under Trump's skin, just based on what we know about him and have seen in the past, and yet he has not reacted in a public way yet. We'll see if he does tomorrow. I suspect he's going to try to be to keep it together, but he has so much pressure mounting with the Russia probe and then so many other anxieties given the commentary in the country right now.
Talking to Trump confidants, I asked about this, and I said, "What's this? What explains the behavior?" And they said, "Well, he's New York Military Academy. Remember, his father venerates the military. He venerates the military, even though he doesn't serve. He's someone who's always admired military culture." And
He
part of him
throws in
that looks
the word
back at that
strong when
generation.
he discusses them, as he just did there with Flynn.
Exactly right. There's the sense with President Trump, the military is something to be admired. He knows a lot about the war stories for President George H.W. Bush, and that his friends at least tell me that has to have a place in his head.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.